The Viking Portable Library World Bible. The Christian and the Jew. Air and water meets fire and earth. Air being the robes, and water, I guess, being the blood that runs through the human being. The plant being earth, and the fire being, fire. The burning bush representing the Christian, I guess. But selections from Judeo-Christian scriptures from the book of Job. What is the Almighty? How should man be just with God? If he will contend with him, he cannot answer him one of 1,000. He is wise in heart and mighty in strength, who hath hardened himself against him, and hath prospered, which removed the mountains, and they know not, which overturneth them in his anger, which shaketh the earth out of her place, and the pillars thereof tremble, which commandeth the sun, and it riseth not, and sealeth up the stars, which alone spreadeth out the heavens, and treadeth upon the waves of the sea, which maketh Arcturus, Orion, and Pleiades, and the chambers of the earth, which doth great things past finding out, yea, and wonders without number. And the book of Enoch uses astrology more. Astrology saying stuff with the stars. If you're saying this happened because of this thing and this planet, and it looks like it's going in backwards order. Mercury retrograde. No, not Mercury retrograde. Oh, don't blame me. That was just in Mercury. That's just how I am in Mercury retrograde. Yeah, you can psych yourself out and make yourself all messed up with stuff, but, anyways. Great things passing out. And yea, and wonders without number. Yeah, there's too many things out there for us to really mythologize or use creatively, but let's accept their wonder. Lo, he goeth by me, and I see him not. He passeth on also, but I perceive him not. Behold, he taketh away. Who can hinder him? Who will say unto him, What doest thou? If I speak of judgment, lo, he is strong. And if of judgment, who shall set me a time to plead? If I justify myself, mine own mouth shall condemn me. If I say I am perfect, it shall also prove me perverse. Though I were perfect, yet would I not know my soul. I would despise my life. Now, hey, we're not perfect, but we can be perfecting. And where we're not perfecting, yeah, we have reason to look down on ourselves, but, let's not be all self-loathing, right? And if we're not using our life, of course we hate our life, But we want to fight to maintain our life, to keep doing good deeds, right? This is one thing, wherefore I said it, he destroyeth the perfect and the wicked. I am as one mocked of his neighbor, who calleth upon God, and he answereth him. The just upright man is laughed to scorn. He that is ready to slip with his feet is as a lamp, despised in the thought of him that is at ease. The tabernacles of the robbers prosper, and they that provoke God are secure, into whose hand God bringeth abundantly. So this tabernacles of the robbers thing, that gospel of prosperity is out the window. It doesn't matter how rich that preacher is. That preacher may not even be involving himself in usury, like probably the only non-adulterous preacher at the top of the game, or that hasn't involved himself in other evils of the world that are even worse than that. I think you know who I'm talking about, that particular prosperity gospel teacher. When you got tens of millions of dollars running through your ministry, you don't have to involve yourself in the same usury of the sort that Jesus was turning over tables and all that. Seriously, you look at the bankers and say, oh, God has favored them. What was Jesus doing with people who were trying to make money off of money, basically not doing anything. Oh, we don't want your coinage. But acts now of the beast, and they shall teach thee, and the fowls of the air, and they shall tell thee, or speak to the earth, and it shall teach thee, and the fishes of the sea shall declare unto thee, who knoweth not in all these that the hand of the Lord hath wrought this? Lo, mine eye hath seen all this, mine ear hath heard and understood it. Man that is born of a woman is of few days, and full of trouble. He cometh forth like a flower, and is cut down. He fleeth also as a shadow, and continueth not. And dost thou open thine eyes upon such an one, and bringest me into the judgment with thee? Who can bring a clean thing out of an unclean? Not one. Seeing his days are determined, the number of his months are with thee. Thou hast appointed his bounds that he cannot pass. Turn from him, that he may not rest, till he shall accomplish as an hireling this day. For there is hope of a tree, if it be cut down, that it will sprout again, and that the tender branch thereof will not cease, though the root thereof wax old in the earth, and the stalk thereof die in the ground. Yet though the scent of water will it bud, and bring forth boughs like a plant. But man dieth and wasteth away. Yea, man giveth up the ghost. And where is he? And the waters fail from the sea, and the flood decaveth and dry up. So man lieth down, and riseth not, till the heavens be no more. They shall not awaken, nor be raised out of their sleep. Oh, that my words were now written! Oh, that they were printed in a book, and they were graven with an iron pen, and lead in the rock forever. And may I, and some of the audience that hears this, be able to establish our legacy in what's right through our media. For I know that my Redeemer liveth. Christians have misused things like this, and that he shall stand at the latter day upon the earth. Though after my skin worms destroy this body, yet in my flesh shall I even see God. Well, all at the judgment day, not bound by these material bodies, are going to witness unto God as the beyond this universe, and we're going to, swoon, per se. Even when I remember, I am afraid, and trembling taketh hold on my flesh. You can have a theophany does occur too. You realize the presence of God, and it's like, like when I was walking around that park, and it's like every petal was calling the name of God. It's like I could hear everyone fall and say it, and I felt like I was in God's presence, and it's like nothing else. Wherefore do the wicked live, become old, yea, are mighty in power. Their seed is established in their sight with them, and their offspring before their eyes. Their houses are safe from fear, neither is the rod of God upon them. So the wand of God is in a favor with their wand. They spend their days in wealth, and in the moment go down to the grave. Therefore they say unto God, Depart from us, for we desire not the knowledge of thy ways. What is the Almighty, that we should serve him? And what profit should we have if we pray unto him? Lo, their good is not in their hands. The counsel of the wicked is far from me. How oft is the candle of the wicked put out? How oft cometh their destruction upon them? God distributeth sorrows in his anger. They are as stubble before the wind, and as chaff that the storm carrieth away. God layeth up his iniquity for his children; he rewardeth him, and he shall know it. Now, back in the day, this sort of metaphor was not taken literally. You look at the book of Psalms and other places. The idea that God had one son and was literally begotten, no, that was not acceptable. But this metaphor, yeah, the metaphor was used. His eyes shall see his destruction, and he shall drink of the wrath of the Almighty. For what pleasure hath he in his house after him, when the number of his months is cut off in the midst? Shall any teach God's knowledge, seeking he judgeth those that are high? Oh, that I knew where I might find him, that I might come even to his seat. Behold, I go forward, but he is not there, and backward, but I cannot perceive him. On the left hand, where he doth work, but I cannot behold him. He hideth himself on the right hand, that I cannot see him, but he knoweth the way that I take. When he hath tried me, I shall come forth as gold. My foot hath held his steps. His way have I kept, and not declined. Neither have I gone back from the commandment of his lips. I have esteemed the words of his mouth more than my necessary food. But he is in one mind, and who can turn him? And what his soul desireth, even that he doeth. Surely there is a vein for the silver, and a place for gold where they find it. Iron is taken out of the earth, and brass is molten out of the stone. He setteth an end to darkness, and searcheth out all perfection, the stones of darkness and the shadow of death. The flood breaketh out from the inhabitant, even the waters, forgotten of the foot, they are dried up. They are gone away from men. As for the earth, out of it cometh bread, and under it is turned up as it were fire. The stones of it are the place of sapphires, and it hath dust of gold. There is a path which no fowl knoweth, and which the vulture's eye hath not seen. The lion's whelps have not trodden it, nor the fierce lion passed by it. He putteth forth his hand upon the rocks. He overturneth the mountains by the roots. He cutteth out rivers among the rocks. And his eye seeth every precious thing. He bindeth the floods from overtaking. He bindeth the flows from overflowing. And the thing which is hid bringeth he forth to the light. And you see one of the things happening here is all these things that people worship aside from God, you're going to find it says that God does the same. So we don't have to run here and there and there and the other ways. And that's part of how Christianity caught on. It's because, there's different savior gods for different occasions, and this group's not exclusive. And the Christians are like, no, you better be exclusive to us. But where shall wisdom be found, and where is the place of understanding? Man knoweth not the price thereof, neither is it to be found in the land of the living. The depth saith, it is not in me, and the sea saith, it is not with me. It cannot be gotten for gold, neither shall it be weighed for the price thereof. It cannot be valued with the gold of Ophir. With the precious onyx are the sapphire. Whence then cometh wisdom? And where is the place of understanding? Seeing it is hid from the eyes of all living, and kept close from the fowls of the air. Destruction and death say, we have heard the fame thereof with our ears. God understandeth the way thereof, and he knoweth the place thereof. For he looketh to the ends of the earth, and seeth under the whole heaven, to make the weight for the winds, and he weigheth the waters by measure. And we made a decree for the rain, and a way for the lightning of the thunder. Then did he see it, and declare it. He prepared it, yea, and searched it out. And unto the man he said, behold, the fear of the Lord, that is wisdom, and to depart from evil is understanding. Is not destruction to the wicked, and a strange punishment to the workers of iniquity? Doth not he see my ways, and count all my steps? Oh, that one would hear me. Behold, my desire is that the Almighty would answer me, and that mine adversary had written a book. Well, Satan probably has more scriptures than God. It seems pretty clear, particularly when you include the additions that have been made to the changes that have been made to various scriptures that would have been what God had revealed and inspired in their sources in real history, Surely I would take it upon my shoulder, and bind it as a crown to me. I would declare unto him the number of my steps. As a prince I would go near unto him. If my land cry against me, or that the furrows likewise thereof complain, if I have eaten the fruits thereof without money, or have caused the owners thereof to lose their life, let thistles grow instead of wheat, and cookie instead of barley. The words of Job are ended. When the Lord answered Job out of the whirlwind, and said, Who is this that darkeneth counsel by words without knowledge? So, just don't go all occult if you don't know what you're talking about. Stay exoteric if, you don't have knowledge to go occult, Exoteric. I said exoteric, right? Yeah, don't go esoteric if you don't even grasp the exoteric yet. Gird up now thy loins like a man, for I will demand of thee, and answer thou me. Where wast thou when I laid the foundations of the earth? Declare, if thou hast understanding. Who hast laid the measures thereof, if thou knowest? Or who hath stretched the line upon it? Whereupon are the foundations thereof fastened? Or who laid the cornerstone thereof? When the morning stars sang together, and all the sons of God shouted for joy? Or who shut up the sea with doors, when it brake forth, as if it had issued out of the womb? When I made the cloud the garment thereof, and thick darkness a swaddling band for it, and brake up for it my decreed place, and set bars and doors, and said, Hitherto shalt thou come, but no further, and here shall thy proud ways be stayed. Hast thou commanded the morning since thy days, and caused the dayspring to know his place, that it might take hold of the ends of the earth, and that the wicked might be shaken out of it? It is turned as clay to the seal, and they standeth as a garment. And from the wicked their light is withholden, and the high arm shall be broken. Remember that Sufi metaphor? I was raw, and then I was cooked, and now I am burnt. Hast thou entered into the springs of the sea, or hast thou walked in search of the depth? Have the gates of death been opened unto thee, or hast thou seen the doors of the shadow of death? Hast thou perceived the breadth of the earth? Declare if thou knowest it all. Where is the way where light dwelleth? As for darkness, where is the place thereof? That thou shouldest take it to thy bound thereof, and that thou shouldest know the paths to the house thereof. Knowest thou it because thou wast then born, or because the number of thy days is great? Hast thou entered into the treasures of the snow, or hast thou seen the treasures of the hail, which I have reserved against the time of trouble, against the day of battle and war? By what way is the light parted, which scattereth the east wind upon the earth? Who hath divided a watercourse for the overflowing of the water, or a way for the lightning of thunder, to cause it to rain on the earth? where no man is, on the wilderness, wherein there is no man to satisfy the desolate and waste ground, and cause the bud of the tender herb to spring forth. Hath the rain a father? Or who hath begotten the drops of dew? Out of whose womb came the ice, and the hoary frost of heaven? Who hath gendered it? The waters are hid as with a stone, and the face of the deep is frozen. From the outer solar system comes in all these things with water, even in the middle of these stones. And the earth continues to gain in water through these meteors, which usually break up in the atmosphere. Canst thou bind the sweet influence of Pleiades, or loose the bands of Orion? Canst thou bring forth Mazzaroth in his season? The zodiacs. The houses of the stars. Or canst thou guide Arcturus with his sons? Knowest thou the ordinances of heaven? Canst thou set the dominion thereof in the earth? Canst thou lift up thy voice to the clouds, that abundance of waters may cover thee? Canst thou send lightnings, that they may go and say unto thee, Here we are, who hath put wisdom in the inward parts, or who hath given understanding to the heart? Who can number the clouds in wisdom, or who can stay in the bottles of heaven, when the dust groweth into hardness, and the clod cleaveth fast together? Wilt thou hunt the prey for the lion, or fill the appetite of the young lions, when they couch in their dens, and abide in the covert to lie in wait? Who provideth for the raven his food, when his young ones cry unto God? They wander for lack of meat. Knowest thou the time when the wild goats of the rock bring forth? Or canst thou mark when the hens do calf? Hinds, maybe. Canst thou number the months that they fulfill? Or knowest thou the time when they bring forth? We obviously know a little here and there, but the rock bring forth. What was that saying again? The wild goats of the rock. You gotta love us. You gotta love when scriptures bring up goats, right? I'm surprised more rock videos didn't have goats in them. Actually, no, goats are difficult to deal with to a degree, so I understand. And people living in cities, where are we going to get the goats? They bow themselves, they bring forth their young ones, they cast out their sorrows. Their young ones are in good liking. They grow up with corn, they go forth and return not unto them. Who hath sent out the wild ass free, or who hath loosed the bands of the wild ass? Donkeys. But they're different than the domestic donkeys. Whose house I have made the wilderness, and the barren land his dwellings. He scorneth the multitude of the city, neither regardeth he the crying of the driver. The range of the mountains is his pasture, and he searcheth after every green thing. Will the unicorn be willing to serve thee, or abide by thy crib? Unicorn actually, Ramim, there's some fearsome things, they're not just, there's some spirits, man. I guess they're visiting people at night, right? But they've, so when it comes time to number 40, remember there's evidence here. My mythology series, like the Goetia series, remember number 40, there's indication here that Raum would be a night spirit. If it's listed as a day one, I don't remember if it's traditionally listed as such. But yeah, unicorns, not those cute horse things. Get that out of your mind. That's not what the Bible talks about when it repeatedly mentions unicorns. Canst thou bind the unicorn with his band in the furrow? Or will he be hollow? Or will he harrow the valleys after thee? Well, jinn have respite, don't they? Wilt thou trust him because his strength is great? Or wilt thou leave thy neighbor to him? Wilt thou believe him that he will bring home thy seed and gather it into thy barn? Now, some people there say that there's some of those wild animals that maybe you couldn't get close to them and their horns kind of. But there's evidence solidly that parallels what's in the Bible and comes before it, that the unicorns were spirits. Gavest thou the goodly wings unto the peacocks? Are wings and feathers unto the ostrich, which leaveth her eggs in the earth, and warmeth them in the dust, and forgetteth that the foot may crush them, or that the wild beast may break them? She is hardened against her young ones, as though they were not hers. Her labor is in vain, without fear, because God hath deprived her of wisdom. Neither hath he imparted to her understanding. What time she lifteth up herself on high, she scorneth the horse and his rider. Hast thou given the horse strength? Hast thou clothed his neck with thunder? Canst thou make him afraid as a grasshopper? The glory of his nostrils is terrible. He paweth in the valley, and rejoiceth in his strength. He goeth on to meet the armed men. Even the domestic animal, we should really think who created it. Created them. He mocketh at fear, and is not affrighted. Neither turneth he back from the sword. The quiver ratteth against him, the glittering spear and the shield. He swalloweth the ground with fierceness and rage. Neither believeth he that it is the sound of the trumpet. He saith among the trumpets, Ha, ha! And he smelleth the battle afar off, the thunder of the captains and the shouting. Doth the hawk fly by thy wisdom, and stretcheth her wings towards the south? Doth the eagle mount up at thy command, and make her nest on high? She dwelleth and abideth on the rock, upon the crag of the rock, and the strong place. From thence she seeketh the prey, and her eyes behold afar off. Her young ones also suck up blood. Where the slain are, there she is. And there's actual reference to vampires, the aluka, in the elsewhere in the Bible. Shall he contend with the Almighty, instruct him, that he reproveth God? Let him answer it. Then Job answered the Lord and said, Behold, I am bile. What shall I answer thee? I will lay my hand upon my mouth. Once I have spoken, but I will not answer. Yea, twice, but I will proceed no further. Then answered the Lord unto Job out of the whirlwind, and said, Gird up thy loins, now, like a man. I will demand of thee, and declare thou unto me. Wilt thou also disannul my judgment? Wilt thou condemn me, that thou mayest be righteous? Hast thou an arm like God? Or canst thou thunder with a voice like him? And the Quran makes even more clear the idea that nothing is like God in anything. When we use the word face or hand or something, nothing is like unto God. Nothing is equal or even like God in anything. So, using a similar word, we have no idea. canst thou thunder with a voice like him? Yeah, when I change voices, I'm not saying I sound like God. Deck thyself with majesty and excellency, and array thyself with glory and beauty. Cast abroad the rage of thy wealth, and behold every one that is proud, and obeys him. Look on every one that is proud, and bring him low, and tread down the wicked in their place. Hide them in the dust together, and bind their faces in secret. Then I will also confess unto thee that thine own right hand can save thee. Behold now Behemoth, which some say is like Jesus, some say is the Holy Ghost, some say that Jesus and the Holy Ghost and whatnot is the Christian. See, this is what we're, God had an alternative in his person, some strange doctrine like that. But anyways, and you see mythologically, when you look into Tiamat and all this, why Leviathan and Behemoth are similar characters to the Christian idea of God. Behold now Behemoth, which I have made with thee. He eateth grass as an ox. Lo, now his strength is in his loins, and his force is in the navel of his belly. He moveth with his tail like a cedar. His sinews and his stones are wrapped together. His bones are strong pieces of brass. His bones are like bars of iron. He is the chief of the ways of God. He that made him can make his sword to approach unto him. Surely the mountains bring him forth food, wherein all the beasts of the fields play. He lieth under the shady trees, in the covert of the reeds and fens. The shady trees cover him with their shadow. The willows of the brook encompass him about. Behold, he drinketh up as a river, and hasteth not. He trusteth that he can draw up Jordan into his mouth. He taketh it with his eyes. His nose pierceth through snares. So you see reasons why the elves and the gnomes and stuff are said to have Behemoth as their king, the earth elemental king. He taketh with his eyes, and his nose pierceth through snares. In Arabic, the meaning is given like a big old bull, beyond anything that we can imagine as a physical creature. But anyways, canst thou draw out Leviathan with the hook? Leviathan, Jesus on the cross, no, that sort of thing's are tricking the devil with Jesus. It's like, anyways, the Christian interpretations get a little strange. Are his tongue with a cord which thou lettest down? Canst thou put a hook into his nose, or bore his jaw through with a thorn? Will he make many supplications unto thee? Will he speak soft words unto thee? Will he make a covenant with thee? Wilt thou take him for a servant forever? Wilt thou play with him as with a bird? Or wilt thou bind him with thy maidens? Shall thy companions make a banquet of him? Shall they part him among the merchants? Canst thou fill his skin with barbed irons, or his head with fish spears? Then Job answered his Lord and said, I know that thou canst do everything, and though that no thought can withhold from thee. Who is he that hideth counsel without knowledge? Therefore I have uttered